This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Good afternoon, and thanks for staying with Radio Now 95.3 FM, Lagos. It's now 28 minutes to 12 o'clock, and you're welcome to the midday brunch. My name's Camry Apollo. Today is World Parkinson's Day. It falls on the 11th of April every year to raise awareness of Parkinson's disease. So, lots of questions. What is Parkinson's disease? Is it contagious? How can you tell if somebody's got Parkinson's disease? Is it dangerous? Is it treatable? So many questions. Now, joining me on the midday brunch to find answers to these questions and more, I have with me Miss Laura Temituyo Ede. She's the Executive Director of the Adewumi Desalu Parkinson's Foundation, ADPF. Ms. Ede, good morning and welcome to the
Hello.
program.
Good morning, Camry. Good morning, everyone. How are you doing today?
Fine, thank you. And we are also joined by the program manager also at ADPF, Ms. Tolulope Oyenuga. Ms. Oyenuga, good morning to you and welcome as well.
Hello, good morning. Good morning, Camry. Good morning, everyone.
Okay, so here we are, 11th of April, every day. It's World Parkinson's Day. I've got 1,000,001 questions. Unfortunately, we didn't have the time to go there, so I'll restrict this to some very, very foundational ones. Starting with Ms. Ede. First of all, what is Parkinson's disease?
So basically, Parkinson's disease is a condition whereby a part of the brain starts deteriorating, and when this happens, it starts causing a lot of severe symptoms over time. And if it's not managed properly, it gets worse by as time goes by. So the symptoms that comes with Parkinson's is that it affects your movement because, like I said, it's a brain condition. So you have slowed movements, or you have tremors in your hands, like your hands are shaking, or there's rigidity or stiffness, or unstable posture when you're working, or there's falling, or there's freezing. So people with Parkinson's also have trouble swallowing or even blinking their eyes. So because this is a progressive disorder that basically affects the nervous system and parts of the body that is controlled by the nerves, it affects mobility in general. But usually the first symptom that people notice is usually when the tremor starts. Not everybody has tremors, but that's like the most popular symptom that happens with people. It's when the tremor starts and the hand starts shaking, and there's stiffness, or there's slowness in movement. So that's how it happens. And once people start observing like there's a problem with their nervous system, then that's when they have to reach out to the hospital and get diagnosed by a neurologist. So only a neurologist can actually diagnose Parkinson's disease. So that's literally Parkinson's disease in brief.
Okay, two questions. First of all, let me start with the most recent one you mentioned, which is the tremors. I had a very bad habit before, tobacco, not the healthiest of habits. I've quit years ago, thankfully. And also alcohol. I was a social drinker. Don't do that anymore either. And I remember then I used to, one of the tests, okay, we're not professionals, health professionals, but one of the tests my friends and I would conduct on ourselves to see if we were doing a bit too much, is it time to take a break, was the shaky hands thing. So I noticed you said shaky hands. So I just want I just want the listener to be very sure that these are symptoms, and symptoms sometimes don't present alone. They present in line with other things. And you've just said only an expert can properly diagnose. So I don't want anybody there with, shaky hands to start to think, oh my God, I've got Parkinson's. Please approach a health professional if you suspect there's something off. Okay, yeah. I think that's a message there. And you also said it is progressive. That means it gets worse?
Yes, it does. It gets worse over time. So there are even different stages of Parkinson's. So Parkinson's has like stage 1, stage 2, stage 3, stage 4. So stage 1 is usually like the beginning stage, and most often than not, it even has like non-motor symptoms where people experience like depression, dementia, anxiety. So it's more mental health related as well as also the physical symptoms. So they could even have pain, constipation, fatigue. All of those things can come with the symptoms. Then if it's not treated well or it is not managed well, it progresses into the next stage and into the next stage. So there's stage 1, there's stage 2, there's stage 3, there's stage 4. So it's advances. I won't relate it with cancer, but you know how cancer also progresses. That's how I would like to say Parkinson's progresses if it is not managed properly, because it gets as far as inability to swallow, inability to chew. Then you see people with Parkinson's with their mobility. You see that they start to freeze. Maybe they're walking and the next thing they just freeze, or they fall because they don't have balance. And all of these affect their gait in general, their balance, their speed, their movement, all of that. So it just worsens over time if it doesn't if it's not managed the onset, or it's not managed properly.
Okay, let me come to Ms. Oyenuga. At what point will one require a caregiver? At what point does one require assistance since it's a progressive disease?
Okay, so thank you, Mr. Camry. So like my ED said, PD is a progressive disease. It is a neurodegenerative disease, and it is a condition that affects mobility. And we all know what that means. If there's a condition that affects your movement, your ability to do things, it means that at some point you require help. So what we do at the foundation is we always say that anybody who has been diagnosed with Parkinson's needs a caregiver. You need a caregiver, whether you still have your mobility, you still have your independence, you always need somebody around you who is caring for you, who is monitoring your symptom, because it's progressive. So there's certain things that may happen that you may not be aware of, that the person living with the condition may not even notice. So it's a caregiver who is able to quickly spot something that is unusual and then, take action immediately.
Okay, now, the way I see caregivers is that the quality of life the people they care for, or the level of comfort the people they care for are able to enjoy, sometimes is also based on the state or the state of mind of the caregiver and their conditions as well. So it's very important we look to the caregiver. So let's turn our attention to that. What does it take to be a Parkinson's caregiver, and what should they be looking out for? Who looks after them? They need to be minded and, be cared for as well, so that they're able to perform this very important task that they do.
Yeah. So I really, really like that you brought this question up, because we do not talk about what we do at the foundation without talking about our caregivers. ADPF, the Adeomide Salu Parkinson's Foundation, is for both the person living with Parkinson's and their caregiver. So, and I would, answer this question in context. In other parts of the world, you usually find people are able to pay for professional caregivers. In this part of the world, the first caregiver is the family member. Most times is the partner, the children, the siblings. And so before we even start getting to the professional caregivers and what you need to become a caregiver in Nigeria, we'll have to start caring for the family members. And like you said, the state of mind, the quality of life of the caregiver is also very important. And so what we do here is, while we are caring for the person living with Parkinson's, we have created a safe space for the caregivers. So we have, at the center, we have a lounge. We have a community for them. They have a group. They have trainings. They have materials that we share with them. We are concerned about their mental health. We're concerned about their well-being. And so when a person with Parkinson's comes to the center, they literally hand over their family members, their relatives to us, while they go somewhere to unwind, to relax, to rest if they need to. So our programs are very, very intertwined. We focus on the caregiver. We train them we educate them, and more importantly, we look after their well-being as well.
Interesting. All right, let me come back now to your executive director, Miss Ede. Miss Ede, what's the theme for this year's World Parkinson's Awareness Day?
Is there a particular theme? I think there's no particular theme when it comes to Parkinson's. So it's more like almost all the Parkinson's organizations, because Parkinson is it's a growing need. So every year it's all about standing against Parkinson's disease. So all the different organizations that have to do with Parkinson's, like we have Parkinson's UK, Parkinson's Canada, Parkinson's Foundation, Parkinson's South Africa. So like there are Parkinson's organizations all around the world. So basically what everybody tries to do on Parkinson's Day is more about creating awareness about Parkinson's and advocating for Parkinson's. So the continuous theme is always around standing for Parkinson's disease.
Okay, do we have any numbers to tell us how many Nigerians currently live with Parkinson's, or are we treating them as we identify them and as they come forwards?
So there is no particular statistics of Parkinson's in Nigeria at the moment. We already know how when it comes to Parkinson's is, but over the years we know that we have, I think in Africa we have I think over 5 million people that are suffering from Parkinson's, and there are new cases that goes by the year. So you have like hundreds and thousands of new cases of Parkinson's every year. And because usually, okay, so Parkinson's used to be a disease that used to affect older people. So you see, it was mostly associated with people that are 60 years and above. But now we have early onset. So we have people in their 20s, people in their 30s, in their 40s having Parkinson's. And it's usually maybe not hereditary, but maybe due to their genes or environmental conditions and things like that. So now we now have situations whereby there is increased number of people with Parkinson's. So it's not only affecting older people. And there's also the fact that a lot of people associate Parkinson's disease with Alzheimer's because there's kind of some similarity. So there needs to be that statistics that separates Parkinson's disease from also Alzheimer's disease.
Interesting. Now, is there a cure for Parkinson's, or is it a condition we are expected to manage?
We are expected to manage.
Okay, so as it is now, there's no known cure for Parkinson's. The researchers and the scientists are doing a great job looking for the cure, doing a lot of research. But what you can do now is to detect Parkinson's early enough and manage it properly.
So basically, prevention is better than cure. That old adage is very important when it comes to this neurological disorder. So again, exactly. I'd like us to run through, can I just go and get tested for it without any symptoms, or must something manifest for it to be able to show up in a test? How does that work, Ms. Oyeniga?
Okay, so from what we know now, Parkinson's is not even the kind of, so there's no blood test for Parkinson's. The kind of test they do for Parkinson's are qualitative, where there's a checklist. The neurologists have a long list of symptoms that a person with Parkinson's is supposed to show and exhibit. And when you go for a test, and that's why, like you said, you cannot just say, oh, I think I have tremors, so I may have Parkinson's, or or I have constipation, I've had constipation all my life, or I can't smell, or I'm having, rigidity. You really have to go to a neurologist who has this checklist. And when you score to a particular point, they actually have standardized tests that they use to diagnose Parkinson's. And when a person comes to a particular score on that test, that's when they can say this person has Parkinson's.
That's exactly why we say it has to be a neurologist that has to give the diagnosis.
Okay, let me come back to Ms. Ede. I would like to talk about Nigeria's journey and Parkinson's. Where are we today in managing this disease?
So in terms of managing diseases, I think the first problem that we have is the lack of awareness and knowledge of Parkinson's. So currently, the way we are in Nigeria now, people are not aware of what the disease is about. And that's why we're even having this conversation around building education around Parkinson's disease. Um, there are also not so many neurologists in Nigeria at the moment, but the neurologists that we do have are doing amazingly well in the management of Parkinson's disease. So we have a lot of consultants and we have a lot of them in the tertiary hospitals, the public hospitals. So they're doing very well. But the problem at the current problem right now is the lack of awareness and knowledge of Parkinson's. And this even comes from grassroots. So people don't even know what Parkinson's is about for them to even say they are going to the hospital to even get the diagnosis, or who to even meet for a diagnosis, or if they even have a problem. There's also this thing to help me out here. There's also this cultural issue that has to do with Parkinson's and relating it with witchcraft. So there's a stigma part of it. So once they start having those symptoms, especially with the grassroots, they start associating it with witchcraft or something else. So people are also now very much ashamed to come out to even say they have a problem, even if they don't know that it is even Parkinson's disease that they have. So they are ashamed to actually come out to actually say that they have a problem. And people that have even been diagnosed of Parkinson's are also pretty much ashamed to even accept that, okay, this is what the disease is, and letting people know that then they have these disease. So it all boils down back to the lack of awareness and or for diagnosis, for care, for management, for treatment, all of that when it comes to Parkinson's disease.
You know, it's such a shame. It hurts when we talk about things like our cultural and traditional hindrances and barriers towards, advancement and development. We are very, very secretive, aren't we? Something as simple as going on a journey is a closely kept secret. Oh, don't let the neighbors know. I was raised to understand that, look, if you're going on a journey, first person you tell is your neighbor so they can keep an eye on your house. But
exactly.
we tend to associate it with other things. I don't know how we'll overcome that. But let's look at the Ministry of Health. It's been headed now by someone who's come to us from an international organization. I think he was meant to head the vaccine body Gavi, Professor Mohamed Ali Pate. What are you hopeful for from this administration regarding the government's input into health as relates a disease like Parkinson's that your organization is treating?
Okay.
What would you like to see?
Okay, so a huge part of our work is advocacy. So as it is now, we are beginning to reach out to people in government, to ministries of health, to health. We already are working with the Health Services Commission in Lagos State, and we have started reaching out to the Federal Ministry of Health, and we are bringing the case. We're trying to make a case for Parkinson's. The truth is, Parkinson's is one of the fastest neurodegenerative disease in the world. And so the largest population of Nigeria right now are the young people. So if you say that a disease is the fastest growing disease, then in the next 20 to 15 years, we're actually going to have a lot of people who are in their middle ages coming down with Parkinson's. So the government needs to be ready. The hospitals needs to be ready. So as much as we're doing awareness, we're bringing advocacy to ministries. And there is also the issue of drug. So what we would say to the ministries, to the Federal Ministry of Health, if he has our ears right now, is to help us see how we can make the drugs, the medication for people living with Parkinson's readily available. And affordable. They're very expensive right now, but because it is also not a what do they call it now, like an urgent issue, the drugs are not prioritized. So we need to make it a priority medication so that people who need it can easily find it, and people who also are financially vulnerable can afford it. Thank you.
Interesting. The other thing I was going to point to is regarding what constitutes an emergency regarding Nigeria's health. Is Parkinson's a so-called big man disease? Because there's this concept that, certain things only affect a certain class of people. We are immune because, hey, we're tougher. That's people at the other end of the salary scale.
So
Yes.
So I would say I won't really call it a big man disease, but I understand what you mean because of what we say in Nigeria. The treatment of Parkinson's is expensive. I would tell you that because that's the work that we do at ADPF in terms of managing Parkinson's disease because it has to do with a lot of physiotherapy. We have dance therapy, we have boxing therapy. It has to do with a lot of fitness because like I said, it affects their balance and their movement. So all of these things are what comes together to help manage them and give them more stability. Then also has to do with their handwriting. So we also have like a micrographia class that we do with them to help them stabilize their handwriting because of the tremors and their hands shaking. So yeah, so it's doing all of this and it needs to be consistent. So you can't just come once a month or once in a week and expect that okay, you're going to the disease is going to get better over time. No. What we even do at ADPF is we have the members coming 3 times a week. And that is about 12 sessions in a month. So imagine having them coming 3 times a week with different therapies that we are giving them. So that is what makes it, would I say, the big man disease, but it's the treatment, it's the management of it because it's really, really expensive to actually manage.
So basically, it could strike anyone, which brings me to this all-important question.
Yes, anybody, anywhere.
What causes Parkinson's? Is it something I do? Is it something I can go and catch? Is it contagious?
So
Okay.
it's not contagious. There is no particular cause for Parkinson's, like the cause is unknown, but there's several factors that can play a role in it. Right now, there's no cause. Same way we don't know the cause for cancer. Genes also has an effect in it. Environmental triggers, we've been told over time, like, okay, maybe pesticides or things like that, all those environmental triggers can actually cause Parkinson's disease. But that is all hearsay that we've heard so far, but there is no known cure, known cause for Parkinson's, nor is there even a cure for Parkinson's right now.
Okay, Ms. Oyenaga, you were going to add something?
Oh, yes. She has said what I wanted to say, that there's no known
Okay.
cause.
Okay, so this thing could literally be anyone from any part of the country and any job or professional salary scale. That's what we are saying.
Yes, anybody, and right now, any age, like it's no longer affecting the older generation. It's now coming down to people in their 20s, 30s. So it could really affect anybody.
Do we know any popular people living with Parkinson's?
Oh, yes.
Tolu?
Yes, there are quite a number of them. At the center, we have something we call a wall of fame. And on that wall, we have prominent people. So I'll start with Muhammad Ali. We have the boxer who had Parkinson's. Michael J. Fox, if we all know Michael J. Fox, is an
Oh,
American
Back to the
actor.
Future. Yes.
Back to the Future, yes, he has Parkinson's. And I'll bring it to the country. The late Brigadier General Omobolaji Johnson had Parkinson's. Michael Ibro had Parkinson's. So we have people across, we have a Pope who had Parkinson's. Yes, so we have people, prominent people who have Parkinson's currently or who had Parkinson's before they passed.
Because if we're in advocacy, then it would be good to see more celebs, more prominent people coming out to talk about this so that people can connect with them. And maybe that will start to address the stigma aspect of this disease. I don't know how that works, but that's the reason I was asking the question.
Yes,
it
yes,
always helps.
that's true. Just to add to that, so when when Laura talked about stigma, we realized that stigma is not just for people who are vulnerable. Even the prominent and influential, wealthy people also experience stigma. Yes, so we try our best to get people to tell their story. If you've had PD, if you know someone in your family who has had PD and lived well with it, it would be nice if people could hear their stories and, be inspired by it. But it takes time. I'm going to say that it takes time for somebody to come out and say, this is what I'm going through. But I believe that with what we do at the foundation is also going to keep encouraging more people to show up and come out.
Okay. Let me come back to Miss Ede as we wrap up the program now. What's your message to Nigerians and other people following this program on Parkinson's?
So I would like to say, firstly, is the fact that Parkinson's is not contagious. So if you do know anybody that has Parkinson's, I think what you should do is be very compassionate to them and address them with empathy. I would also want people that have similar symptoms to what we have talked about here on the call today, and I've heard, okay, these are some symptoms of Parkinson's, to actually go and get checked out and by a neurologist, a doctor, a neurologist, and confirm if they have Parkinson's disease or not. It's not a death sentence. Parkinson's disease can easily be managed. And once you start managing it well, you can still live for another decade, 15 years, and more. It depends on how you properly manage it and the consistency in managing it. So the work we do at Adewumi Desalu Parkinson's Foundation is more so rehabilitative care for the people with Parkinson's and also supporting the caregivers. So I would like to say, if you do have Parkinson's, if you've been diagnosed of Parkinson's, you can reach out to us for support in terms of the management of the disease. But if you do have symptoms of Parkinson's, or you know anybody that has Parkinson's and has the symptoms of Parkinson's, please let's reach out to them and encourage them to do have it checked out to confirm if it is Parkinson's disease or not. Because, like we said, early detection really matters when it comes to Parkinson's, so that it does not progress over time.
Thank you. And Ms. Oyenuga, how can people get in touch with your organization if they have questions and so on?
Okay, thank you very much. So if you have questions, if you would like to reach out, we are located at 3 Owukori Crescent, Alaka Estate, Surulere, Lagos. You can walk in to make an inquiry. If you feel like you have symptoms, just walk in. You can also send us an email at info@desaluparkinsonsfoundation.org. We're also on all social medias. We're on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter at ADPFORG, or you send us a message on LinkedIn at the Adewumi Desalu Parkinson's Foundation. We would be happy to receive you. Like we always say, we are here to help you, and we're ready. We have a community of people waiting to hold your hand so you won't fall.
All right. Thank you both so much. Thank you, Laura Temitoyo Ede, the Executive Director at Adewumi Desalu Parkinson's Foundation, and Mr. Lope Oyenuga, the Project Manager, also at ADPF. Thank you both so much for featuring on the program.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM.